So I wanted to talk about how Dionysus started. What was the inspiration from it, and how did it start gaining a lot of traction? Um, as many of you may know, my mom died of brain cancer. She was diagnosed in the beginning of October in the year 2015. Um, and when we found out that she had brain cancer, terminal brain cancer, it was pretty devastating. So, as a method of me coping with my mom's sickness while she was succumbing to the disease, um, I was, I would say I was going insane. I didn't know what to do with myself. It was like every day it was just getting worse and worse, and for me to coping with that was very, very difficult. So what I ended up doing was I started to write, and I didn't really know that I was a good writer, or rather I was able to express myself to the point where a lot of people started following me in the cancer community because I pretty much said, I don't think I wrote anything special. I just expressed myself the way I felt, which resonated with the cancer community. And I started taking a lot of these writings and essays, and I turned them into short films. I put a lot of the imagery of other patients and other families in the videos. And so I got that kind of like motivated me more into the film industry. It started, I saw how powerful it was to be able to express yourself. And I wrote a story called Maria Canje at the time, which was another one, a story which had nothing to do with brain cancer, but it had to do with, taking something extremely negative in your life, something extremely painful, and finding the silver lining in it, and turning it into something positive, which basically was the experience of brain cancer for myself. My experience, it was something horrific, but there was a silver lining in it, in the sense that a community was created, and was able to help other people going through the same thing or going through something similar, other families. And that, what I would say, is the positive thing in it, in the horrible experience. And so it's finding that positive thing in something very negative that gave the story of the core of what Maria Canje is, which the movie's story is very dark and a little twisted, but I was just freestyling with my creativity, and it was a story that I had in my head already, and that story developed more as was experiencing what I was experiencing with my mom. And finally, it all came to me when my mom was sick, and everything with the cancer community, and the story was finally finalized. And originally it was a short version of the movie, the story, and that's what I ended up shooting, a short version with a lot of people in New York that, they helped me shoot the movie, the short film, and I shot a lot of it, but I didn't complete it because the reason why is because one of my friends, Mark Gold, on Facebook, he saw the imagery from the film, and he was like, "What are you doing, Dino? Is this a movie? What is this?" Like, no, I'm just shooting a short version of this. I'm just shooting a short film of this movie that there's a story that I wrote. And he's like, "Do you have a full feature?" And I was like, "Not really, but I have the whole story in my head. I can write it." And he's like, "Go ahead, write it and send it to me." So I did, and that was over the holidays. And then I gave it to him like on the 1st of January of 2016, I believe it was. And he read it and he loved it. He's like, oh my God, this is such a great story. Let's produce it. I was like, oh, cool. So I signed a contract with him, and he started getting into, pushing the project forward. And then that's when I realized, I was like, man, there must be so many people out there that have stories inside of them, that, if put in front of the right person, it can become something else. It's not just a story, but something that the world can experience. Something that the world can enjoy as well. So having all these stories, people having all these stories bottled up and no way to actually bring it out to the world, to me it's a kind of a shame. So why not create a platform that would allow people to express themselves and put that story in front of the right people, who have the ability of taking it to a whole nother level. And that's where the concept of Dionysus was born. So quite literally, I started developing the idea, and I reached out, of course, to my partner and friend Max Garza, and he loved the idea, and then we just started developing it, and it says we can use also blockchain technology to make it even more interesting, because we could use it to raise money through cryptocurrency. And so we spent countless hours and days and weeks and months developing and fine-tuning the idea. And Max is a marketing genius, and we started pushing it, getting in front of the right people, and it literally, the idea just caught fire. Everyone is in love with the idea of Dionysus and creating this crowdsourcing of content and crowdsourcing of funds through cryptocurrency, which allows you to essentially raise money from every nook and cranny of the earth. It's far more reaching than fiat is, because fiat, when you raise money in the traditional with the traditional crowdfunding sites like Indiegogo, or what's the other one, a Kickstarter, those are restricted by border. You can't really raise money from, let's say, someone in Africa or someone in Asia, because it's limited within our borders. So that kind of restricts the amount of money you can raise. And also, secondly, those sites, they don't give you equitable interest in the project. They can fund the project, but you just get like a gift or something. But we actually want investors globally, to have an opportunity to make money and be part of the whole creative process as well, because people will be able to engage with the producers that are actually filming the movie, when it eventually goes to filming the movie, because we want to create that experience of interactiveness between the community that raised the cash, raised the money for the movie, and actually the producers of the movie. So Dionysus is not just going to be raising money for it or crowdsourcing, but also creating a community where it kind of like melds the difference between who the investor is and the production company is. It melted together, and so it creates a really powerful community. So you already have an audience for the film as well, and I think that's the exciting part of what Dionysus is it become a social platform for movie creation, where you can find funding, other creatives, and also create a following, a fan base for the project. So that's essentially how Dionysus came about, and I want to thank everyone that has helped Dionysus move forward. Everyone in the UK, Amjad, Asjad, Balbir, Deborah, of course Henry Penzi, Luke Daniels, Max Decker, Max Garza, and all of us, Jag Supol, all of us worked really hard over the last few years in pushing this, and finally It's starting to bear fruit, and it's really exciting. I can't imagine where this platform will be in a year from now, in 2 years from now, and 5 years from now. As long as we keep pushing hard, it's going to be an incredible experience for everyone involved globally. Thank you.